In this video, we're going to tell the story of how a lone journalist, armed with a radical vision, nearly upended the political establishment, only to be thwarted by the very system he sought to dismantle. By the late 1960s, Aspen was a town in profound transition. Founded as a silver mining camp named Ute City in 1879, it boomed and then busted with the demonetization of silver in 1893. Decades of languishing ended when industrialist Walter Pape and his wife Elizabeth began reimagining it as a cultural and recreational haven. The Aspen Institute, founded in 1949, and the Aspen Skiing Company transformed the Sleepy Valley into an international destination for skiing, intellectual discourse, and the arts. But this renaissance brought new tensions. Aspen began attracting not only the affluent and cultured, but also a significant contingent of the counterculture: hippies, artists, writers, and disillusioned youth, often collectively dubbed freaks. Drawn by the natural beauty and relatively tolerant atmosphere, their presence created friction with the more conservative old guard. Issues like development, drug use, and differing lifestyles became flashpoints, pitting the heads against the straights. An early tremor of this conflict was the Aspen Wall Poster incident in 1968, where satirical artwork by local artists, including Tom Benton, led to arrests and further polarized the community. Into this simmering cauldron stepped Hunter S. Thompson. In 1967, he had moved to Woody Creek, a small, unincorporated community a few miles down the Roaring Fork Valley from Aspen, purchasing a property he famously dubbed Owl Farm. Already making a name for himself as a fearless, unconventional journalist, soon to be known as the creator of gonzo journalism, with his penchant for firearms, drugs, and vitriolic prose, quickly became a notable, if unsettling, local figure. He was deeply critical of the unchecked greed of developers and the heavy-handedness of local law enforcement, particularly under the incumbent Sheriff Carrol D. Whitmire. Thompson's decision to run for Sheriff of Pitkin County in 1970 was no mere whimsical stunt, though it was certainly imbued with his characteristic theatricality. It stemmed from genuine frustration with local governance and a strategic desire to seize tangible political power. The sheriff's office, with its direct control over law enforcement and considerable autonomy, was the target. The idea gained traction among Thompson's allies, including artist Tom Benton, who became a key campaign strategist and designed its iconic emblem, a two-thumbed fist, derived from a Native American peyote cult symbol, clutching a peyote button under the banner, "Freak Power." This term became a rallying cry, aiming to mobilize the disenfranchised youth and anti-establishment elements into a coherent political force. Unveiled in the spring of 1970, the Freak Power platform was a radical and provocative document. Thompson pledged, if elected, a series of startling changes. Among the most notorious was the promise to rip up all city streets with jackhammers and sod them over, effectively banning most vehicular traffic from Aspen's core to discourage speculators and preserve its pedestrian-friendly character. On law enforcement, he advocated for disarming the sheriff and his deputies in public, stating, "The first duty of the sheriff is to protect the people, not to harass them." Regarding drugs, the platform called for decriminalizing substances for personal use. Furthermore, harsh penalties were promised for environmental destruction, targeting land rapers and irresponsible developers. Thompson, often in his signature aviator sunglasses, campaigned vigorously from informal headquarters at the J Bar in the historic Hotel Jerome and at Owl Farm. A powerful orator, his speeches blended scathing wit with serious political critique. In a masterstroke of visual strategy, Thompson shaved his head completely bald, allowing him to refer to his Republican opponent as "my long-haired opponent," cleverly inverting cultural stereotypes. The campaign wasn't a solo affair. Joe Edwards, a young lawyer and friend, ran for Pitkin County Commissioner. Tom Benton's artwork provided a rebellious and compelling visual identity. Thompson himself leveraged his writing, penning The Battle of Aspen for Rolling Stone magazine, published November 12, 1970, shortly after the election, offering a gonzo-inflected first-hand account. The day of reckoning arrived on November 3rd, 1970. When the votes were tallied, Hunter S. Thompson had lost, but the results were remarkably close for such an unconventional candidate. The incumbent, Carrol D. Whitmire, secured re-election with 1,533 votes. Thompson garnered a significant 1,065 votes. The Democratic candidate, Beth Madsen, received 821 votes. The math was stark and painful for the Freak Power camp. Had the anti-Whitmire vote not been split, Thompson might well have won. The combined Thompson and Madsen votes totaled 1,886, comfortably exceeding Whitmire's count. Thompson himself attributed his loss to this division, alongside what he described as underhanded tactics by his opponents, including alleged irregularities in voter registration and the exploitation of fear. Despite Thompson's personal defeat, the Freak Power movement left a lasting impact. Joe Edwards, Thompson's ally, was successfully elected as a Pitkin County Commissioner in that same 1970 election, signaling a tangible shift towards greater environmental consciousness and controlled growth. The campaign had mobilized a significant, previously disengaged segment of the population, demonstrating that the freaks, when organized, could be a potent political force. The issues Thompson raised, overdevelopment, environmental protection, the nature of policing, remained central to Aspen's political discourse for decades. The legacy of the 1970 campaign also resonated in the career of Bob Broaddus. A young deputy under Sheriff Whitmire at the time, Broaddus observed the Freak Power phenomenon firsthand. He would eventually be elected sheriff of Pitkin County in 1986, serving for an impressive 24 years. The themes and characters from his Aspen political battles would surface in his later writings, most notably in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where the quest for the American dream curdles into a drug-fueled nightmare, a sentiment perhaps foreshadowed by the thwarted idealism of the Freak Power movement. The 1970 run for sheriff of Pitkin County remains a potent example of grassroots political insurgency, a moment when the psychedelic energy of the counterculture directly challenged the structures of power. It left an indelible mark on Aspen's history and the legend of Hunter S. Thompson, a strange and vibrant chapter in American local politics. The campaign, in its audacity and earnestness, perfectly encapsulated the turbulent spirit of its time, a near miss that, in many ways, still echoes through the roaring Fork Valley. That's it for this week's Leisure Lore. And please do us a favor and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed it. It means the world to us.